I said, what did you get out of the presentations from the EpiUsers side? And she said, what EpiUsers just proved is that anybody can use AI, right? Hey, Brian.
Jose, welcome back.
Only been a couple of years, but we're back with episode 1 of season 3 of the EpiUsers Podcast.
That's right. We're back at it.
We keep saying that we're going to do this more often and have more episodes. And I just checked, and the last episode we had was episode 1 of season 2, and that was the last one we did in 2024.
I'm sure it was awesome.
It was the best. It was an insights recap, which is kind of what we're doing today, along with our 10-year anniversary special. But we are going to come back and do more of these. I think we have a good plan now. We're really bad at editing, so we're hoping that AI will assist us with this. AI is great for everything, right? So we're going to use it for editing as well.
Let's do it. Let's get into it. I'm all pumped up from Insights. How about you?
Me too. I came back with a lot of energy and a lot of excitement about a bunch of things. And then I got to work and I was like, oh yeah, I still have my to-do list. But, I do still feel energized and I'm ready to hit the ground running.
I didn't have a lot of energy when I got back.
Well, the day I got back, I was a little tired. But, it's good. It's good. I'm excited. I'm excited to put more episodes together. We have a plan and we're hoping it'll flush out. So let's jump into it. So let's talk first about our 10-year anniversary, right? Can you believe it's been 10 years since we started this thing?
No, I can't. That went fast.
It did. I don't feel that old.
I don't feel that old.
That's right. We look it, but we don't feel it. So that's okay.
Exactly.
So how about this? Let's do a little story time and talk about how the forum got started, because I don't think everybody knows how we got started on this adventure, and it was mostly your fault. So I'm going to blame you for this and let you tell the story.
Yeah, so it was one of those cases where something needed to be built and I baited you into building it. So it all worked out. That's the story from there. Oh, in seriousness, I think, it really stemmed from, there used to be a Yahoo group that was started by Mike England. And in the user group, it was kind of hidden behind a Yahoo login and it wasn't accessible via Google and hard to find. And if you knew about it, knew the secret handshake, you could get invited. I think you had to have a customer ID to sign up. There's no consultants and partners involved. And so there really wasn't much of an online presence behind the paywall, right? I mean, it was free, but it was just kind of hidden in that Yahoo group. And then I think Mike had passed away at some point, and from there, the forum wasn't being moderated and new user signups weren't happening. And so it kind of fizzled out. And I think after a couple of years of me trying to find you online, I think I bumped into you at Insights and, we became friends, I think at some point and did some work together. And then we just had this idea of resurrecting this thing and making it a little more modern and web accessible and accessible via Google.
Yeah, I know. And I remember it was one of the Insights party nights. We were hanging out and having a couple of drinks and enjoying the show. And you just kind of threw the idea out and said, hey, how about we do something? Or you said something like, I bet you can't do it. And so then, me and Josh and you picked up and ran with it. And here we are 10 years later, 11,000 users and growing every day. So it's been a pretty remarkable journey. I think, if we look back over the last 10 years, what do you say was the biggest surprise kind of that has occurred with EpiUsers, if you had something to say about that?
I think the biggest surprise is how much Epicor maybe embraced the forum and referenced it as a voice of the customer and participated in the forum. I think at first when we set this up, I think we were afraid that they might even shut it down, right? And so, we had some concerns about that and we moderated pretty heavily and tried to keep, we let consultants in and we tried to keep the focused on helping each other, right? And so I think it's grown from there. And I think we also served a purpose in the Epicor community where there was not really an avenue or, support process in place for Epicor to help people with their custom code and things like that, right? It would kind of go to professional services or CSG. And so I think the forum initially started off as, helping people with code problems and some custom solutions and things like that. And now it's grown more, but I think Epicor's embraced the site, and their involvement has been a surprise for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that has been great, and just helping each other out. I think when I first started back in the Yahoo groups, like you mentioned, and a lot of good opportunities for learning just came from the Yahoo groups and eventually the forum. Right? Somebody asks a question, you don't know how to answer it, you go figure it out, and then you learn together. And that peer-to-peer support really has been amazing. Actually, it's been a great community. I've met some of my lifelong friends now through the forum and through the Epicor community as a whole. So it has been pretty interesting. It's also a fun community, right? There's a lot of banter back and forth and meme sharing, sometimes a little too much. I'm looking at you. But, you know, I was just thinking back, I was like, what was the funniest moment that I can think of when we think back over the last 10 years? And I think the funniest moment in the forum was when one of our users decided they wanted to get a special badge for the most likes given, which I guess, the forum has a badge system that awards interactions and things like that. And this person really wanted to earn this badge. And so they spent like 24 hours liking everyone's posts. And they got the badge, but it freaked everybody out because you got in the morning, you open the forum, it's like, so and so has liked 27 of your posts. And it actually led to a thread in the forum making fun of this person, just kind of giving them a hard time, and it was pretty funny. And they actually did get an additional badge. And I think it's called something like I creeped everyone out by liking all their posts. So you got 2 for 1 on that day.
A little
Something like that.
little tongue
Yeah.
in cheek there, but it was fun.
But
Let me
no,
ask
it's
you,
been a great adventure.
what's been your favorite moments of the forum? What do you think, looking back? What's been the best takeaway
I mean, I
from all
think
this?
really just getting to know everybody, getting to meet everybody, especially if, as you get to meet people in the forum and then you transition to Insights, which we usually go to, and then you meet them in person. I think the most memorable one comes to mind is when Kevin Linscomb joined the forum, and he was very active right off the bat, answering questions, jumping in, great interaction for like a year or so, and then we went to Insights and we got to meet him in person, and we've become really, really good friends. We text almost daily. It's been a great interaction, and so for me that's been the biggest thing is getting to know these great people that work in the same industry and share with each other, and it's been a phenomenal interaction, really.
Good. That's one of our original goals, was set this up as more of a networking, space, not social media exactly, but a place where you get to know some other folks who do the same things that we do, being a bit of a niche market 10 years ago. And I think it's grown tremendously, but back then it did feel a little bit smaller.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So looking ahead, I just published out a new theme on the forum that ruffled some feathers, but we had to do an upgrade because we were falling behind. And so we upgraded the forum to the latest version. We upgraded the theme a little bit. Thank you, AI, for the help there. And so looking ahead, we did talk about making some changes and adding some help to the forum. Like I said, we have over 11,000 users that are active on the forum right now, and we just don't have enough bandwidth at this point to moderate and monitor everything that happens on the forum. And we've seen that a little bit over the last year. There's been some kind of what I would consider drifting of the tone in the forum, and we want to try and get that back to what it used to be, which is really just a fun community of people helping each other out and being a unified voice to get a listening ear on the Epicor side. And so we're going to implement. We just implemented, like I said, the new theme, and we just implemented and turned on some AI-driven moderation on the forum. So if some of your posts get flagged automatically, don't get mad at us. It was the AI doing it, and we're tweaking it and trying to figure it out. But we really want to get back to that balance of having a fun, voiceless community that can disagree constructively, but we want to keep things friendly and fun and constructive as much as possible.
Yeah, thanks for setting that up. I think it's needed. So thanks for that.
Yeah, no, we'll see how it goes. So far, there hasn't been any flags. I did try to give the the AI a specific set of instructions as we could, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, so that was the 10-year anniversary. We did have our 10-year event at the conference this year on Monday. That was a really, really neat event, and we had over 250 attendees at the event, which was all made possible by our lovely sponsors that helped us out. Because as you know, the forum it's a free place to go share information and share with each other. We don't make any money. And so having sponsorships is really the only way that we can put together like an event or a party. And so to do that, or to show thanks to our sponsor, I'm going to name them a few. We're going to post on the forum in our vendor spotlight section. We're going to post a little blurb for each sponsor. If you're looking for help, if you're looking for support in Epicor and you have some dollars to spend, please throw them at our sponsors if you can. They're all great people. We know them all. We've worked with or around them for years. So thank you for that. Our event was fantastic, and it was all thanks to them. Our first sponsor, which actually came as a big surprise, a welcome surprise, was Epicor. Epicor reached out and said, hey, I see you guys are doing an event. We love you guys. We love EpiUsers. We love our community, and we want to help. And so Epicor was gracious, and not only did they help us find a venue, they approved our event, and they provided some sponsorship as well. So shout out to Epicor for embracing us and helping us have our event. Our second sponsor, and these are not in any particular order, they're just in the order that I put them in the rundown here, is going to be 6S Partners. They're an Epicor Platinum Elite Partner for North America, and you can find more information on their website at 6spartners.com. We also had Blue Sky, who actually has sponsored our event before. Blue Sky is an Epicor authorized partner in the UK, and they've been around the forum for a long time. Again, you can find more information for them at blueskyerp.co.uk. We also have some newcomers this time around, because we actually put out a kind of a call for sponsorship, and I gotta say, lots of partners and friends from the community responded, and that's been great. So ICM America, another Epicor Services certified partner, also sponsored this year's event, and you can find some information at icmamerica.com. We also had TCP, Technology Coast Partners, who's an Epicor Platinum partner. And they also have a product called Fluent ERP that uses AI. And you can find information at tcpamericas.com. We also had a returning sponsor, and actually our very first sponsor ever, EBIS Charge. They've been our partners and friends for years now. And they once again came through and sponsored our event. They're one of our longest friends. They're a payment processor with Kinetic integrations, and you can find information at ebischarge.com. We also had AR is Consulting, which is a Epicor partner with decades of experience, and you can find more information at arisconsulting.com. And Biscuit was another one that came through this year. Again, we've had a relationship as a customer of Biscuit for years. I know you also use their product. They have their flagship product, the Epicor EKW, Kinetic Warehouse. And so they sponsored us this year, and you can reach out at biscuit.com. And last but not least, we had K9 Recruitment, and this is a boutique recruitment firm specializing in ERP. And again, we've known them for a few years now. Kayla and Brendan, they're awesome recruiters. So if you're looking for opportunities, feel free to reach out to them. Anyways, we look forward to giving you more information about our sponsors on the vendor spotlight on our forum in the next few days. All right, so let's talk about insights. First, I gotta start at the beginning here and say congratulations, Brian. It was awesome to see you up there on the stage receiving your award. Can you talk a little bit about, the award you received and what it was for?
Absolutely. So like you, a few years back when you got the award, when you were at Gould, I got the award this year, mostly focused. It was a manufacturing excellence award, a manufacturing champion award. And I think they focused that mostly on our success using the cloud as a scalable platform. We've had a lot of acquisitions, a lot of internal growth, and we've just used Epicor's platform there with some quick implementations at our acquisition companies. We have 3 more sites we just acquired in the last couple of weeks, and we'll be moving them onto our Epicor cloud platform as well. And so talking with our account managers and some of the cloud team over the last couple of years, they've been very helpful with us. I have a relationship with most of them, really just because we work together, and they've been very helpful. And so they wanted to share that story. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
No, I know when you went to the cloud, we ribbed you a little bit about it because we've been on premise for a long time, and it has been really nice to actually see firsthand, your transition to the cloud and things like that. I still have my reservations. We can talk about that later, but it has been very interesting to see you transition to that because, again, I've known you as an on-premise guy for a long time, and so that was I had my doubts.
Yeah. It's a good fit for us. It is. I mean, we have a lot of integrations. We don't have a ton of customization. And so it really is it's a good fit for our environment. And so it's been a win for us. Yeah.
And thanks to your award, and just because you sign up for all things, you also were very busy at Insights. You had, I don't know how many sessions. I know I got to go to at least one of them, your implementation session, which is always a big hit. What other What other sessions did you have? I think you had one in cloud as well.
I did I did a cloud panel, just kind of Q&A from customers, what's the cloud like? Can I do this? Can I do that? Just sharing some experience there. Just open, honest feedback with, some of the things that you'll run into along the way. To give a shout out to our project manager who helped us out. And so that was kind of fun. I did that with another customer from NJet, so Nicholas. And so that was a fun time for us. I did the successful implementation strategy advice, which is a big hit. That's always fun. The questions afterwards are always great. So I did that. I think the most fun part, was being on stage for the recap of the roadmap ahead, where we were prepped, so we were prepped for what the questions might be. There was a list of questions, but we were not prepped for the answers. People were asking me a lot of this during the rest of the week. And so they feed us answers, and the answer is no. In fact, we really didn't know what the answers were. And so I really had to pay attention during the roadmap ahead from behind the stage. And we get to watch it on there's a monitor back there. We get to watch it on like a 4-inch cube. And so, paying attention and really zeroed in. So the three of us that went on stage were really zeroed in on everything that Jen and Tim had to say when they're up there. And so, yeah, the answers were real and they were very much on the fly.
Yeah, that's got to be intimidating. But you look great up there, and we may or may not have been making fun of you and or baiting you from the audience.
There were definitely a few hecklers in the front row for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, those were great. I had a session on the SDK, which is my favorite toy from Epicor in the last few years. I've done the session a couple of times now, and we continue to expand and use it. It's funny because yesterday I was talking to Kevin actually, who was like, I just went and started using the SDK, and he was having some struggles with it. So I was trying to help him with it. But it's just a really, really good tool. It can have improvements, of course. It can be better, but it's a really, really good tool if you have that need for it, and we definitely do. So that was a good session. And then of course we had the EpiUsers session, which are always fantastic. So we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. What other sessions come to mind from the conference that you think we need to talk about or cover?
I didn't get to go to it, but I've heard a lot of great feedback about the Taming the Dashboard Dragons session that Michael and Trudy did. I had another session at the same time, so I wasn't able to attend it, but the feedback from that has been amazing. And so I think they did a nice write-up and posted that on EpiUsers, but I think also on their company website. They had pictures of them presenting and all the code that they shared. And it was really nice how they recapped that also and just kind of shared that with everyone. So if you missed that session, there's a whole post on it on the forum, and you can go grab all the session slides and everything else. So that was a hot one. That was a hot one this week.
I didn't get to go to the Taming Dashboard Dragons either because I had a conflict. But as I was walking out of my other session, I actually had people walk up to me and tell me how great the session was. So they did a really nice job. And what's really nice about it is that their session is not specific to them, right? So you can take what they do and immediately apply it on your side. So that was a great session. And then of course we had the EpiUsers session, which I thought was pretty great. This year the theme was AI and automation, and so we had several community members that came out and kind of showcased what they've done around AI and automation. And I thought it was a really good session because it allows you to see the potential of what's out there and what can be done, right? We had Andrew show off something that in his mind seemed very basic, but really he automated AP invoice processing and importing using AI and OCR, which Epicor has ECM for, right? But he was able to do it all with Power Automate and a couple of OCR AI agents, and it worked really well for him. And it was something that seemed very simple and very attainable, because a lot of times when you look at these AI solutions, they seem so far-fetched and so complex, right? So it's really nice to see that you can use AI outside of the LLM. You can use AI for basic things that seem trivial. And one of the things that LLMs are really great at is reading unstructured data, which in this case, an invoice is just that, it's unstructured data. So if you can have AI read that document, it basically can save you a ton of time. And so I really, really liked what he did there. We also had Gabe, who showcased a metric ton of tools that he's been writing using AI, and that was a huge boon. All the tools are great. I've been using them for a few months now because he had shared them in the community before, and I love like the App Studio helper, the BAQ tools, the link to SQL tools, all those tools that he was able to write and quickly and get them to work by using AI. And actually, I just saw that he posted on the forum right after the conference yesterday, I think. He posted a new link with a lot more of the tools, including the SQL to BAQ tool that he covered. So I thought that was great. We also had Zach showcase his AI workflows, his MCP setup. I showcased a little bit of our MCP setup with Libre Chat. And, it's interesting because Jen from Epicor was at the conference and we talked to her after the presentations, and I said, what did you get out of the presentations from the EpiUsers side? And she said, what EpiUsers just proved is that anybody can use AI, right? And so it doesn't have to be just what Epicor provides. And I thought that was a great way to look at it. AI is for everybody, right? And using it, correctly, using it carefully is important, but the ability to just use it to accelerate as fuel to the fire is really where it shines.
Yeah, Gabe also had an interesting tool where he has a dashboard that lets you edit the RDL files because they're now stored inside the database. I laughed because I just use Notepad at this point to edit most of my RDL, my SSRS reports. And I just loved that he had an XML editor built into a dashboard to edit his reports. So I got a good laugh out of that one. There was some great tools that they demonstrated. Gabe had some cool stuff there. And I thought that was a fun one to point out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I hate well, you know me, I don't like SSRS. I've been battling SSRS or against SSRS for years. I think I created the original idea in Epicor Ideas, or was one of the first voters at least on, replace SSRS. And thankfully Epicor is working on that now with bold reports. But yeah, not a fan of SSRS, and nobody is. And so that tool that Gabe showcased was pretty funny. It's like, yeah, just forget the editor, which is complete trash. Just go ahead and modify the XML yourself, which I thought was pretty great. We did have our community awards, and so I want to make sure that we get through those. So we did that at the beginning of the session. And so do you want to walk through our awards and talk a little bit about each recipient?
Yeah. So we give out 3 awards, 3 MVP awards for community participation on the website, on the forum. And so this year's award winner, again, second time, I think maybe we have to put some new rules in there just so Kevin doesn't win again. But Kevin Lincecum was our MVP this year for all his contributions to our great cause and helping other users on the forum. Randy Stolz, second place MVP. Randy's been on the forum a really long time. He's been very helpful. I was really just happy to see that his point status got him into the award winner circle this year. But Randy's been very helpful over the years, and we've known him a long time, and that's been great. I was happy to give him his award, even though he was, I think, busy working during our session, fixing something for his company, as he turns out. But we were able to track him down and give him his trophy. And third place was Alyssa Osemegi. And Alyssa has been very helpful on the forum. I learned how to do cloud migrations from Alyssa, I think 6, 7, 8 years ago when I was working for a partner. She was working for Epicor. She taught me how to do all the cloud migrations then. So Alyssa's very knowledgeable on Epicor. It's good to see that her contributions landed her in the winner circle as well.
Yeah.
And then one of the most important ones for us, I'll let you talk through the community partner.
Yeah. So this year, we usually do a community partner award, and it just so happens that it has really been Epicor employees for the last 3 or 4 years. I think they don't have to be. Like, we have other partners. We mentioned a bunch of other partners that participate in the forum, but it really is. We look at who's contributed the most to the community over the year from that isn't an end user. And so this year, as I mentioned before, the tone of the community had really shifted in a negative way. And so there was a lot of attention in the community, both in front of the scenes and behind the scenes from an Epicor standpoint, trying to figure out what's going on, what can we do to kind of get back to where we were. And, one of the big themes was, we need to be heard, right? Everybody was mentioning this, on the forum, we want to be heard. And so Epicor definitely stepped up and has been, participating for a long time. Tim Shoemaker has always been on the forum. We had a lot of other participants on the forum, but really this year behind the scenes, Jen Triffhauser really stepped up and made sure that we had a voice, and it has been an incredible journey this year to work with her and the rest of the leadership at Epicor to really make sure that the community has a voice, that we are heard, that we have mutual respect for each other. She works really, really hard. She's the I believe she's now the product owner of Kinetic and manufacturing and cloud. And she really works constantly behind the scenes. She reads the forum constantly. She's constantly asking questions and pushing for changes for the user. She's really one of the most fierce advocates of the customer in Epicor. And so it was our pleasure to award her the Community Partner Award this year. And we hope that Epicor continues to embrace us and continues to work with us to the betterment of the product, right? Because if the product is better, it's good for the customer, and if the customer is happy, it's good for Epicor. So it's really a symbiotic relationship. So it has been a great partnership this year. So we're really happy to award Jen with that.
Yeah, a lot of private messages, a lot of behind the scenes work, a lot of asking us for some extra feedback. We also, connect with her in a lot of the customer advisory boards that we've been on for cloud and for Classic Sunset and you're on the controlled release. And so Jen's been very involved behind the scenes as well. She's constantly reading the forum and not always posting, but certainly reaching out to us for some follow-up and clarification. And she's been very helpful for the last year. So happy to present her the award this year.
Congratulations, Jen. All right. So, outside of what we did on EpiUsers and everything else, the overall theme of the conference is, is usually kind of follows the crowd, right? What's popular this year, and obviously, what was popular this year was AI, right? Prism, AI, data, right? Those are the main topics. There was one topic that we really were, as a community, looking forward to be covered, and that was the last on-premise release announcement that Epicor did. That will be 2028.1, I believe will be the last on-premise release. And so Epicor did a nice job of addressing that in 2 individual sessions. They didn't do it in the main stage, but they did it in the individual sessions. There was 2 individual sessions with the Epicor leadership, Q&A style, answering questions. The entire Epicor leadership was there, from Vaibhav to Steve to Jen to everyone involved. And they answered a lot of questions. They heard a lot of concerns. And so I personally felt much better after those sessions. It is clear that Epicor is working on some hybrid solution of some sort. They haven't released the details yet, and I'm sure those will be coming, but they understand and see what the problems might be, and they are working on something. So I thought it was really important that they actually covered that. They answered the questions. They came prepared to listen, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of it. But it was definitely a good experience, and I personally felt better after those sessions, for sure. I was definitely very concerned, and now, yes, I have concerns, but I feel a little bit better that they're actually working on something that will hopefully kind of bridge the gap between those of us who are on-prem and need control and the operation of SaaS.
It's really nice to hear that they are listening to customers and listening to the concerns. Some of the conversations that I had with some Epicor employees around this is that they're working on a solution and not understanding how to best solve this for everyone, but starting to collect some of that feedback and trying to make us build a solution that'll work, right? Ultimately. So it's really nice to hear that they're involving customers in this process going forward, trying to resolve it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Anyways, the other topic that was big, like I said, was Prism and AI. There was a lot of demos on the big stage, which, look nice. But, using AI every day, which I do, I know you do as well, it's nice to see in person how the promise of AI is starting to take fruit in Epicor. And so while the demos on stage were really pretty and flashy, most of that stuff is forward looking. It isn't tangible today, right? But what was tangible today, at least for me, I went to the showcase floor and I started playing with the Prism agents that they do have available. I think there's 13 or 12 Prism agents that they have available right now. QuickShip, ECM, a couple others. But the one that had the biggest impact for me as an engineer is the App Studio developer Prism agent. I was actually impressed. It actually made me go, wow, okay, I want this. I haven't felt that way about many of the other Prism related announcements thus far, but I got to play with the Prism agent, and it does make in my opinion, a significant difference on App Studio, right? App Studio kind of suffers from carpal tunnel syndrome, if you ask me. Too many clicks to do things, right? It is a very click intensive process to customize screens, and this agent that they've built can do most of what App Studio can do via some very basic, English interactions, right? It can add rules, it can add events, it can add even components and things to the screen, and it works pretty well. And it actually goes through kind of the workflows, creating a plan together, telling you what the plan looks like, and then showing you what these changes and artifacts look like. And then you can choose to apply those artifacts or not into your App Studio layer. So I really, really thought that out of all the Prism related things that they showcased, that was the star. And I am looking forward to, at some point when I'm not on premise, to playing with that and bringing it on board. Because right now we're going through our Kinetic transition, which I know you already did, right? And you remember how difficult and arduous it was to upgrade and uplift everything to Kinetic from Classic. So we're going through that right now, and I would really, really like to have that a Prism agent to help us with it. So that was something that was really good from an AI perspective. I know they also showcase ECM agent and quick ship agent and those type of things. And there was one that was a MRP logs agent that let you read the MRP logs and actually like Q&A style answer questions on the MRP logs, which I think is a great usage of AI. Because again, I don't think AI is magic. I don't think it can do everything, but like reading like time phase and those type of things and helping the users understand the status of their demand and their supply is something that it should be able to do pretty easily, and help troubleshoot MRP is a win for sure.
Yeah, I think for sure troubleshooting MRP it's a bunch of screens involved, and you have to know where to go and read those screens, and time phase can be challenging for newer folks. And yeah, having an LLM on that is going to be helpful. What I really liked, what I saw during the demos, and didn't get to play with it much, but I saw during the demos, is when you were chatting with Epicor, right, through Prism, and some of the responses, they're giving us the ability to correct those responses and change them and reprogram and retrain the model on the fly. So I thought that was pretty slick. We've all been working through some AI tools, and it's a little bit easier when we have the back end and we can redevelop. But for those power users and, just kind of like, hey, that response isn't lining up, and it's including credit memos in this search, and I don't want them to be there, right? You can edit some of that on the fly. So I thought that was pretty helpful and a good path forward. There's a lot of changes from what AI looked like, what Prism looked like a year ago. And the back end of it looks like they made a significant rewrite. So very hopeful that in the next few months we get our hands on this and start seeing what's under the hood.
Yeah, and you're on the cloud, so you actually get to have it. So maybe I'll just give you my layers and have you upgrade them for me and give them back. You have nothing. You have nothing else to do, right?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool because it wasn't just use Prism within Epicor, but they're going to pass that along so you can use it through ChatGPT or Claude or Copilot. Yeah. So
yeah, that's the MCP server side, right? So yeah, they are working on that. I don't know if that's something that is tangible today, but yeah, the demo was interesting, right? This the MCP server, and in the EpiUser session, I demonstrated similar capabilities that you can have with an MCP server, right? So that's and Steve in the conference, or in the what's it called, the keynote, mentioned MCP, right? That's the model context protocol is a protocol out there that allows these agents to talk to other tools, right? And so I'm excited for them to hopefully put out an MCP server or something like that, so that you can connect, not just the Prism agent, but you can connect ChatGPT or Claude or LibreChat, right, to the data and get some information out of it. What was the biggest takeaway for you? Did you have a big, oh, this is one thing I'm taking away from the conference and I'm going to actually implement or do? I know I have one on my side. I don't know if you have any.
Yeah. So the thing for me that, they went through this in the roadmap ahead, the Prism stuff looks great. But the thing for me was the Perpetual MRP. And so, talking to Tim Shoemaker about that also, in addition to what they talked about there, is, MRP is this right now, it's this event driven thing. And you run MRP, a couple of times a day or whatever that is, and changes to jobs, and your supply chain team pings you and says, can you run MRP again for me? We made all these changes, and, and they trip over things, and we make updates to sales orders. It takes a day to reflect. And now they're going to this, perpetual MRP where it's basically always running, right? And the system is always watching. They've been working through this. And it's interesting, the changes they've made over MRP over the last couple of years, where MRP is now this, it takes a few minutes to run instead of 4 hours, and working through, basically writing queries to find what needs to be updated before MRP runs and loading that in. Going to this perpetual MRP, I know Tim's like super excited about this. He loves to geek out about MRP stuff because it's where he grew up in that space, right? And so talking with him about this, and seeing how excited he was. That was the thing I spoke about during the roadmap ahead when they asked me to recap my most excited thing that I saw during the day, and I'll stick with that right now because I am excited about that. I am very excited to see something inside the product that's tangible for all of us, right? So
Right. Yeah. No, that is a really good one. The Perpetual MRP will be a game changer for a lot of companies. I know that I was talking to someone at the conference and they were saying their MRP is like a 12-hour run still to this day, right? And so I think some of those changes are going to make a big difference. For me, the biggest takeaway from actionable item was the Recoder tool that Epicor has actually had for a few years, but they just revamped it and rewrote it and retooled it to be much, much better. And so there were 3 sessions back to back to back. On the last day, this is the one that, if I have a gripe, is that on Thursday afternoon, those are the best sessions, in my opinion, of the conference, right? Everybody leaves early. They leave on Thursday morning because they got flights to catch. And I always make sure that I'm sticking around to the end of the day because those 3 to 4 sessions at the very last tail end of the day, they end up being the most useful, most nerdiest sessions ever. And this was the Recoder. They had 3 sessions at the end of the day. And so the Recoder tool allows you to basically record a process in Epicor like the old Trace tool used to do. It records the network calls. It records the screen clicks. It lets you, through another license you have to buy, but it lets you replay those things in line so that you can help you with upgrades and things like that. And so again, the tool has been around for a long time, but it wasn't great and it was a little hard to use and things like that. And so they just revamped it significantly and it is a much better tool now. And one of the things that they just added to it is the ability for you as an end user to use the Recoder tool to record replication steps that you can then hand over to support. That I think is going to be a game changer. Because I know when I open a support ticket, the first thing they always ask me is, steps to replicate. And I have to sit there and go click here, move there, do this, do that, right? I type it all out. Now with Recoder, before you open your ticket, you can open up Recoder, start a session, record the steps to replicate, and it generates this nice PDF of screenshots of where to click and the text that you type and all these things. And it's a very nice document that you can just hand over directly to support as a steps to replicate. It only works in Kinetic, right? Kinetic web, but that's the future, right? So that's where we're going. So I thought that feature alone is worth it, and it's free, right? It's a Chrome extension you can get from Epic Web, and that worked really well. And then they also have the test. I forgot what they call it, like something like testing platform or something like that. I forgot what the name of the licensable product is, but it basically is the other side of that. So you record everything. You record like entering an order, for example, and then you can take that recording and run it through the testing framework, and it will basically recreate or re-click around and regenerate that order for you on the fly as you kind of watch. And so what's nice about it is that you can, for example, record end-to-end testing of your quote to cash process, right? You can record quote, order, shipment, blah, 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 record all that with your recorder in your testing automation, upgrade to the next version of Epicor, and then you should be able to replay that back in your upgraded session and see if there are issues, right? So that looked like a very, very tangible product that actually seemed to work, that did things well, that it was one of those things like it seems like it will actually make life easier in general. And so that's one of the things I already, asked my Cam for a quote on the testing automation platform, waiting for her on that, and definitely going to start using the Recoder to record steps to replicate to support. So I think from a tangible standpoint, that was my biggest takeaway from the conference is like this tool can really be helpful and be a game changer. So I'm looking forward to incorporate that into our daily tool set for sure.
Yeah, I had played with that tool a year ago. I thought it was a little bit complex to get through. And so watching the demo, actually you and I got to go to that session together. It was like the only time we were, in the session together. So that was fun. But yeah, watching how that product changed, it was one of the first.
Yeah, no, that was cool. All right, well, we're about 40 minutes in, so I think that's probably enough. I don't know that people want to hear us that much. But, it's been 10 years of this, and, we pinky swear that we're going to do some more of this. We're going to find some topics to cover. We're going to bring in some guests. We're going to do maybe some demos. We're going to do, we got all sorts of plans if we can figure out how to get the videos edited. So if you're actually seeing this, it means we figured it out, and we should be okay. But, anyways, so it's been 10 years of this. 10 years ago, there was no Kinetic, there was no Prism, there was no Copilot, there was no AI, right? That's when all of this started, right? You think back now spinning up a new forum and all that stuff wouldn't be all that impressive. You got cloud out of there. You can just be like, "Baby, a forum," right? back 10 years ago when we did this, it was all by hand, man. It was all by hand. I was just doing the theme for the site, the updates for the themes of the site this weekend, and I literally just like went to Claude and I was like, I need a new theme for my forum. It's this course, boom. And it goes, and I said, and it asked me a couple of questions about colors and things like that. I gave it our logo and it generated the theme in a few minutes, right? This is something that would have never happened 10 years ago. The first theme that we had, and remember the site used to be e10help.com, not EpiUsers, right? The first theme was like whatever the default theme was with a logo, and that's all it was. And I know like maybe a year or two later when we rebranded as EpiUsers, Josh took time and wrote down an actual theme, which is what we've been using for I don't know 8 or 9 years, and nobody had touched it forever until we did this weekend. But anyways, so it's been 10 years of this, and I'm hoping that we'll do a lot more episodes this season. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, you remember we actually registered E10, E11, E12, E13 help. We had all the versions lined up. So yeah, and I'm glad we're not doing this by year at the moment. So yeah.
Then Epicor changed their numbering scheme, and just we have all these domains that we don't know what to do with now. Maybe we can auction them off. I don't think we have them anymore. But yeah, we had all the numbers. I think all the way to like 20 or something.
Yeah, we went up pretty high. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were future proofed.
That's right. Well, it used to, it was Vantage 8, and then it went E9 and then E10, and we're like, there's a pattern here. 11, 12. Nope. Never trust a brand, man.
There's a lot of funny stories behind managing all this.
It has.
It's been fun.
But I'm looking forward to this year, getting a little more content out there, bringing the forum back to just a fun place to help each other out. That's my goal this year. Is let's go back to being just a place where you get answers to the most obscure Epicor kinetic questions you can think of, and then be a united voice for the community. That's really where we shine. I think be fun and respectful, and just continue to help each other out. I think that's the best value that we can provide, both as a forum and as a community. And so I'm looking forward already to what the years got ahead and to the next insights, which is only 300 or so days away.
Hopefully I get to see you before.
Yeah, we will. I mean, maybe you see me on camera at least once a month or so when we record a podcast.
Something like that.
I keep making promises that we can't keep, but that's okay.
Yeah. All right, Jose, this was fun. Hopefully people get to watch this. Hopefully we publish it. We get it out there. Well, I think on our, most people don't know this, but Thursday night after Insights, that last night, we all kind of get together and write up our agenda for the year, what we're going to do, and kind of a EpiUsers Insights recap. And I think we lined out like 8 or 9 shows already for the year. So
yeah,
with some interesting guests that we're going to.
We got to find some guests, and for sure. And we'll probably do some just software demos or whatever. Like we'll figure it out. It doesn't have to be so formal. It doesn't even have to be you and I chatting like this. It could be anything really. I think people, at least 6 people, enjoy it. So yeah, this is for you guys.
Hopefully. That's what they tell us to our face.
That's right. All right, buddy. I'll see you.
All right. This was fun. Nice seeing you, Jose.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, buddy.